Welcome everybody around the world. Now, whether anybody believes it or not, I am convinced, and I have the proof to show it. I'm convinced that Disney used with permission, used my plot idea for Star Wars Episode 9. Why do I say this? Because I just saw Rise of Skywalker last night, and I was ecstatic. 2 years ago on my old channel, which is gone now, on my old channel, after watching the Disney Star Wars movies like Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, okay, after I watched them, I was so dismayed with what had happened to the Star Wars storyline that I just, out of pure love for Star Wars, sat down and imagined up a whole Star Wars movie, a whole plot, very deep, amazing, cool, just awesome plot with the most jaw-dropping revelations and the most insane things that would happen, right? And I made a bunch of videos, which are still on my new channel. I re-uploaded them on my new channel. Okay, but this was 2 years ago, Christmas time, 2 years ago, I made these videos. And I made them like 2 trailers, okay, with the Star Wars logo, the Star Wars music, all of that there. And I explained basically all the major plot points, right? Like you would see in a trailer type of thing. And for one of the trailers, I even did some voice acting. I did some Palpatine and I did some Kylo Ren, and it sounds pretty cool, right? So I really loved those videos, and on my old channel, I had gotten, within a few weeks, I had 15,000 views on those videos, right? It was insane. Lots of people liked my plot idea. And in my videos, I actually said that, Disney, anybody from Star Wars or Disney, if you like my ideas, I'm giving you full permission to use them in this movie. That I didn't even know they were going to make an episode IX. Nobody did back then. Nobody knew that. And I just said, look, if you want to use this information, go and use it. Why? Because it will end up making an awesome movie that A, I will love because it's my idea, but B, everybody will love because it repairs, A, because it's cool, but it also repairs all the things that fans didn't like about the last few movies. You see what I mean? It corrects a lot of things, adds in a whole bunch of awesome revelations and stuff like that. So I said go ahead and use it. I mentioned, it would be nice if I got a little paycheck or something, but that's probably never going to happen. And it would just make me happy to see my movie become reality. Well, I don't care what any naysayers or doubters say, but I watched Rise of Skywalker last night, and from the first moments in the movie to the very last seconds in the movie, I can tell you now, I was floored in my seat because over 90-something% of that entire movie, okay, plot-wise, like the major things, 90% or more was my idea. I am not making this up. If anybody wants proof, you could go watch my original trailers I put on my channel. Remember, I made them 2 years ago. They were on my old channel 2 years ago for ages. Okay, but I lost my old channel. And recently, or whenever it was, I had to go out and I'll actually play the audio from that one in a sec, right? But on my new channel, I re-uploaded them because they were so cool, you know what I mean? And a whole year or more had gone by, and I figured, hey, Disney's probably going to make a movie. Let me get these things back out there. So I re-uploaded them. Let me check the date here. April 12th, 2019, right there, published. It's on YouTube for anybody to see. You see if I'm talking nonsense or not, right? April 12th, 2019. And that's the re-upload. Okay, that came out before Rise of Skywalker talk was gone. All right, and before, let me just put that other music back on. Right, I'll play the audio clip so you can hear the voice acting or whatever in a sec. Not the whole thing, just a little tiny bit, right? But just prove a point, because the entire premise of my and I even called it Episode 9, because back then I skipped the movie. I can't remember which one was last, but I figured, oh, Disney will make another one in between or whatever it was. I called it Episode IX. So my trailer comes up with Star Wars Episode IX, right? But the entire premise of my Star Wars plot was that Emperor Palpatine was secretly alive. Now you tell me out there in the Star Wars universe, okay, of fans, how many people out there really thought Palpatine was alive? Come on. How many people out there came up with a way that he could be alive? Come on. I did. That was the whole premise of my plot, okay? And I'm telling you now that over 90% of that movie is my plot, okay? I'm not gonna break down every little detail. I'm just so ecstatic about this. I came out of that movie feeling like I watched my own movie the whole way through. It was absolutely mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling, right? But just take a little quick listen, not visual, but just the audio for a few seconds, right? This is the start of my original trailer for my Star Wars Episode 9, okay? And it starts with Palpatine's voice. The image I had for that trailer was Palpatine's throne chair in front of that window in the on their carrier, right? That was it. The gloomy room, Palpatine on the throne, and it was meant to show that he was addressing Kylo Ren, because I was doing the voice acting for Palpatine and Kylo Ren, right? They showed that throne and that basically that room, that throne room in the Rise of Skywalker movie. They even used the same music track that I selected for my trailers to play when Rey was walking in Palpatine's palace. It's even words, like it's almost like they quoted things that I said in my trailers. It's mind-blowing. But anyways, here's the start of my trailer, okay? And listen for yourself, right? This was done 2 years ago. I'm not complaining about this to Disney. I'm ecstatic that essentially my movie became the next Star Wars movie. Am I ever going to get recognition or credit for it? Nah, probably never. I would like to get recognition for it, but whatever. I sat behind it. I was so convinced that they had used my plot idea. And remember, I said I gave them permission, that I went through the entire credits at the end of the movie to see maybe they threw a little shout out to whatever, right? But you can't read all that stuff up on the screen. So anyways, here's the start of my first trailer. And then I'll just break down what did the two movies have in common. My idea and what did Star Wars do, right? So here's my trailer. It's got Palpatine again, right? Who else thought Palpatine was going back? Okay, Palpatine is sitting here on his throne in that Palpatine throne room, okay? And this is what we hear at the start of my trailer.
Enter my apprentice. You have served me well, Kylo Ren. And now that you have passed your test, shown yourself worthy by killing your own mentor, Snoke, that useless failure. You have also succeeded in bringing me Rey, who in truth is our last ray of hope. And if only the Resistance knew her true potential in the dark side, then perhaps they would not try so hard to bring her to us. But we have succeeded in chasing her and Luke across the cosmos. We are that dragon, Kylo Ren, chasing its virgin, chasing its prey. I will now tell you a great secret, Kylo. You see, Luke is not dead. He did not die. He is holding a great secret within his brow, Kylo. Yoda knew that we were coming, so he arrived and destroyed the tree in the books of the Jedi. These are the secrets that we must obtain, Kylo. It is your destiny, written in the stars, written in the books themselves. This is the secret that Luke saw with his own eyes when he peered within those books, that you one day would defeat him and take the crown. But now is my time, Kylo. But when my time is ended, it is your time to rise. I will make you more powerful than Darth Vader himself. You will rule the cosmos with a fist unshakable. You must find Luke. You must seek him out. You must not fail me, Kylo Ren. You must pass this next test. Bring me the head of Luke Skywalker, so that I can decode what he knows is within those books, so that you and I together, Kylo, can fulfill the prophecies of the ancient Jedi Order.
The only difference is Luke wasn't alive, he was a Force ghost. That's the only difference so far.
Yes, Master. I will obey.
Master!
I will bring you my sister Rey as the sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
Excellent, Kylo. You proved yourself capable of killing your own father. This is the same test Luke had to undergo when he was tempted by the dark side. But little did Luke know. The secret, Kylo, of the lightsaber is the crystal within, the crystal that holds the power to contain and resonate the Force. When Luke held his first lightsaber, when Rey held her first lightsaber, and when you held yours, you all had the visions.
Important stuff here.
Showing you the blueprint of the Force, imprinting it within your DNA. This is the secret nature of that crystal. And this knowledge is also contained within the books. Yoda knows this. And Yoda knows that he is the cause of the Clone Wars. Countless deaths, and he lamented over this. We will bring true balance to the Force, Kylo Ren. And when your time has come, you will rule over all in my stead.
In my stead.
And I will retire as Supreme Emperor.
So Palpatine will come to retire.
And unto you I will give everything, like a father gives his son. I have adopted you, Kylo Ren, into the supreme new empire.
New empire.
The one that will overshadow all that preceded it. This is the birth of the new empire. But first, we must find Luke.
And right here on the screen, if Disney likes my idea and wants to use it, contact me and we can arrange something. I'm more than happy to contribute to Star Wars movies, blah, blah, blah. That's just one of the trailers. The second trailer doesn't have any voice acting, but it's got a lot more of the plot written out on the screen. I wanted to play that because instead of me trying to remember all of my plot points, it's verbally set out there, and plus it sounds cooler. You know what I mean? But so let me put this on in the background. Let me break it down. And this is without going into all the extra detail from my second trailer.
Enter
All the extra plot
my
detail, okay?
apprentice.
Number one, my episode 9, the whole basis of it was that Palpatine was secretly alive the whole time, that he never died. Okay? Oh, this is the wrong me. This is the voice one again.
And now,
Okay? So that was the whole premise of my episode 9. Coincidence that they put it in their movie? That's just one coincidence, if it is. The second coincidence is, as I also explained, right? Well, that trailer was called The New Empire. Because that's just what I envisioned maybe the movie would be called. The New Empire. Why? Because the whole point with Palpatine is that he was secretly forming a new empire that'll be greater than the old. And I go into detail saying on how Palpatine, actually I'll read the words from my second trailer. There we go. That's easier. Duh. So anyways, check this out, right? The New Empire. This is how the second trailer comes, right? It says a new empire has risen from the ashes of the old. And with it, a dark emperor rears his head above the shadows, a term even used in Disney's movie. Like a great dragon which lay in the darkness, awaiting its time to rise and show its face. A dragon which ruled those old shadows and has come to spread its new light across the galaxy, having smelled the promise of virgin blood of a new Jedi, Rey. This ancient one was before the Jedi were. And this is an allusion to Darth Plagueis' link here, okay? And the Jedi came to be, to slay this dragon. The books were written to contain the prophecies, the Jedi books, and the Jedi lineage with its wisdom passed down over millennia. This was my tie back to the Last Jedi, where we saw the Jedi books with the tree. And what I surmised with my plot theory is that, this is reading into things deep. If you go back and watch The Last Jedi again, I designed my plot theory to fit perfectly with all Disney movies. Sorry, with all the Star Wars movies, including the Disney ones. Okay, so my plot wouldn't contradict theirs, and it would include all these elements and mysterious elements. I surmised in my plot that Yoda secretly arrived at the island to destroy the books of knowledge, because Luke had secretly gone to that island as a recluse, secretly to find those books and study them. We were told in the movies that they were hidden away there in a place that's not on any star maps and blah, 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 right? But the Disney movie told us Luke went there because he hated society. Okay? So my theory was that no, he went there. Is it a coincidence after all that the Jedi books were there? But anyways, so my theory said that Luke went there and studied the Jedi books and gained all this lost knowledge, which explained how he could use the higher force powers such as force projection. This is what I mean, but my theory tied all these Disney elements and everything together, right? Okay, and once he learned all these greater powers, ones which he already knew Darth Plagueis had possessed, Luke then also realized that Plagueis was the one who created, was it Anakin, who was his father. Okay, so Luke Skywalker has this link, a family link to Plagueis. Okay, and Palpatine is the second-hand man to Plagueis. And as we learn from the new movie, Rise of Skywalker, all of the Sith go into the current Super Sith. Okay, family tree. Okay, so everything's the same so far. So Luke learned his strange connection to Palpatine and even Plagueis while on that island as a Skywalker. The books, my theory is saying, that it shows the whole history between, the dark side and the light side and the acquisition of the ultimate power. Okay, Plagueis, the dark side, had acquired the ultimate powers. And we saw Palpatine hint this in one of the in the Clone Wars movies. That the dark side contains powers that some consider unimaginable, like, the ability to create life itself. This is one of the hints at the greater powers. And by the way, Rise of Skywalker has all the higher force powers being used throughout the movie, right? Which a lot of people didn't like because they just couldn't wrap their brains around it. Okay, so anyways, my theory says Luke trained there, made himself more intense like that, and that he didn't really die. Okay, That was the whole premise of my theory, was that Luke never really died. When he disappeared and all of that, he became the next evolved step as a Jedi. A Jedi is meant to evolve to beyond death, and that's what you must do. Okay, a whole link to the esoteric everything, right? So Luke didn't really die. He became an immortal. Okay? The only difference between my plot and my trailer is because I chose to say, bring me the head of Luke Skywalker. But you could also argue this was just the trailer, okay? And that could be metaphorical. But anyways, that's the one, like I said, 90+%, not 100%, only a tiny few slight differences, okay? But the essence, even where the differences are, the essence is still the same, okay? So what Palpatine wanted was to get the head of Luke Skywalker, okay? Well, if Luke Skywalker has left the physical plane, he can't get the head back. Who's the last head? Rey. She calls herself Skywalker at the end of the movie. I almost peed my blinking pants because that just connected. That was one of the few things that didn't align with my theory, because my theory was that Rey was secretly a Skywalker. That was one of the major points in my theory. So watching The Rise of Skywalker, I'm sitting there thinking, oh, they haven't said that yet. Everything else is the same. And at the end of the movie, when she said that, that's how I almost peed my pants. I was like, no way. Ultimate reveal, right? So anyways, it's supposed to be the battle between the acquisition of ultimate power. Okay, so all the Jedis who reached the highest level, they went on to their immortal forms. Okay, and those immortal forms have far superior power, okay, over the smaller physical forms, as we saw shown and illustrated in Rise of Skywalker. After all, that's how good defeated evil, was by that, okay? So anyways, that's basically the premise, and I'll shut up and continue with the rest of these, of the plot being laid out in my second trailer. Okay, so it says here, Luke was the last true Jedi of the ancient bloodline, descended from those who begat the first Jedi. And notice, this is my illusion. I'm not pulling strings here. This is my allusion to the fact that Rey is not necessarily literally, okay, the Skywalker. You see? He was the last true Jedi, but I've also just aforementioned, I'm just proving to people with my own syntax, or whatever the right word is, right? It's the same thing in the movie, I'm sorry, right? So Luke was the last true Jedi of the ancient bloodline, descended from those who begat the first Jedi. It is he who is destined to slay the dragon at the end of times. Now, one can argue, who is it who got the dragon slayed in Rise of Skywalker? Would Rey have accomplished it if Luke didn't show up? No. Luke is the one who took her to the next level, right? So anyways, it is he who is destined to slay the dragon at the end of times. And then going on, but the dragon was wroth and chased after this last Jedi, Luke, until the force became unbalanced. And from this lack of balance was born a chaotic star, a new Jedi, Rey, who had the potential of the dark side within. Okay, and I just want to interrupt myself here because I'm sorry, but my plot idea was so cool, and this is my video, so I could talk about whatever I want. But this was all linked back to a pivotal scene from the original Star Wars movies where Yoda, before Yoda died and moved on to his immortal form, right seconds before, he told Luke the most important line in that film, that you are going to bring balance back to the Force. And my theory, okay, goes on to say that, look, it's all yin and yang like this, right? If you have balance, that means they have to go like that. Good and evil must both be present, and they must both be in balance. Everybody's watching the original Star Wars thinking balance comes when the evil is removed. How is that balance? Yoda was telling Luke the great secret, which my theory says was in the Jedi books, which, by the way, Disney put into Rise of Skywalker. That's what Rey used to find out where Palpatine was, okay? Because, like I said, Palpatine was hiding in the shadows in an unseen region. That was the whole premise of my theory. And he stayed there growing like a dragon hiding in the shadows. They even said in Rise of Skywalker, Palpatine himself, I think it was, said that he's been laying in the shadows. and this is a new empire, in that he essentially adopted Kylo. Okay, it's all the same. But anyways, the great secret is that there is only balance when both are present. When and this is just a fact. When Yoda told Luke, "You're going to bring balance to the Force," he did not say, he didn't mean by saying that he's going to eradicate evil. Because you watch the movie, look at what happened. Palpatine went down the thing. Did Palpatine die? Did Palpatine die? Well, if we hadn't seen Rise of Skywalker, we'd only have my crazy theory. My crazy theory was, now, Palpatine was so powerful, he had learned how to cheat death. And when he went down that tube with all the electricity, he didn't die. That was my theory. Okay? So, if you have the great evil, Palpatine, and the great good, Luke, and Yoda's saying, and we also had Vader, okay? But Yoda's saying, you're going to bring balance to the Force. Everybody in the movie theaters, in the original movies, is sitting there thinking, oh, that means Palpatine and Vader are going to go. So everybody narrow-minded watches the movie and think, oh, Vader died and Palpatine died. Oh, the evil's gone. Balance is... No, there's no balance. That's what Yoda knew, and that's one of the reasons, in my theory, Yoda came to the island to destroy and burn up the tree so inexplicably. Because if all of this knowledge, which Plagueis and Palpatine already had a large chunk of, if they got the last bits of it, then they would be invincible. The only reason in the Rise of Skywalker movie that Palpatine got beaten at the end, I swear Disney had to have all my plot, okay? Because it fits perfectly, okay? It fits so perfectly, I was watching it like I made the movie. It was that perfect of a fit, okay? So Palpatine sitting there, showing everybody in Rise of Skywalker theater the whole secret of the higher powers of the Force and all these great secrets that were obviously written in the Jedi books, because how did they learn to find them? In the Jedi books, right? So the one thing that Palpatine slipped up on was that Rey could defeat him, and it's getting real complicated here. Two things: the lightsabers, that's key later, like I mentioned in my first trailer, okay? And we saw that in the Rise of Skywalker movie, okay? The other lightsaber and all the other Force ghosts, the immortal Jedi, okay? Palpatine didn't learn the last step, and that last step was the synthesis of all the Jedi power together. Okay, like I said, that is my plot theory, and they took it, okay? And I'm fine with that, okay? Even if I don't get money for it, I'm fine with that, because it's so blinking awesome that they used it. And no one can convince me that it's a coincidence that whoever wrote the script for this movie, that he had no clue about there is no way, unless I jokingly said to myself, I'm going to use my Force powers, because I so desperately wanted it to become the next Star Wars movie. I was like, I'm going to use my Force powers to transmit it into the Disney people and the creators so that but no, I think it's more realistic that somebody in the team saw my video, stewed up some of the ideas at their session or whatever. Maybe they went and watched it and liked it, saw me giving permission to use the ideas, and they thought, hey, this is probably better than what we're going to do, so let's go make it, right? But no one can convince me that it's a coincidence. I'm sorry, right? But anyways, Palpatine fell because he didn't know the last step to the highest level of power. He wasn't at the highest level, neither was Rey. Rey was way down here, but when she synthesized everything, she went above him, and that's how the movie ends, right? So I just wanted to mention all that with Yoda and the balance of the Force and all of that. And also, people think that, oh, because Vader died, he was evil. That's the balance brought back. No, right? Vader turned good at the end. And officially in Star Wars canon, was he good? Yeah, because he came back as a Force ghost. Right? Thank you. Vader was good. He ended his life as good. So he didn't die as a bad guy. He died as a good guy. You see my point? Palpatine never died, in my theory. He was still alive. Okay? So with that, the Force is already balanced. So what did Yoda mean when he told Luke, you're going to bring balance to the Force, right? That's Yoda telling Luke, if you had the brain algebra to figure this out, that is Yoda telling Luke that Palpatine didn't die. Right there in the old Star Wars movies, that's your hint, according to my theory, and it fits perfectly with everything Star Wars. It so beautifully fits, right? And it's true when you think about it. It's true. That's like Yoda hinting, hey, I know Palpatine's not going to die, and he's going to rise his head way, way later. So anyways, Because when I came up with my theory, I watched every single Star Wars movie back to back from the start to the finish, like 12 plus hours. I watched all of them. Okay? I watched all of them so I can incorporate all the prop to make sure that my theory didn't go against any of their elements. That's my point. So anyways, I'll continue with the last 2 minutes. It's only 2 more minutes of my second trailer. So you hear the rest of my plot theory. Okay? So it says, but the dragon was wroth. This is the Emperor again, Palpatine. The dragon was wroth and chased after this last Jedi, Luke, until the Force became unbalanced. And from this lack of balance was born a chaotic star, Rey. Okay? That's how I tied in esoteric knowledge with this, right? Because I want to make it more cool like that. So if we're all talking about this balance and stuff, how are you going to create this new chaotic star of pure potential in the Force? Okay? You take it out of balance. And that's why the Emperor did all that he did to throw it out of balance. Well, and it ties back to what I just talked about. Yoda foresaw all of this and said that Luke would bring balance back to the Force. Okay? So anyways, the Emperor was wroth and chased after the last Jedi until the Force became unbalanced. And from this lack of balance was born a chaotic star, a new Jedi, Rey, who had the potential of the dark side within. Okay? This was all planned by the great dragon, like we see in Rise of Skywalker. The old yet new Emperor, who did so in order to create this new Jedi out of chaos. Sorry, I gotta backtrack. Out of chaos, so that she would... Backtrack further. One sec. Try and keep the music going with the text, then I don't have to pause it. Create this new Jedi out of chaos so that she would serve as a virgin sacrifice. Obviously not literal, metaphorical. This is a trailer, remember, right? You only throw out hints at the plot in a trailer. Okay, so what did we see in Rise of Skywalker? Yeah, Rey wasn't the sacrifice. Rey wasn't the sacrifice you find out at the very end. It was Palpatine who was. Okay? Very, very slightly different thing here with my plot. However, I'm going to argue this is still my plot because Rey, even according to my theory, is not actually meant to become a sacrifice. She's meant to join the dark side. This is the whole point of my theory, is that Rey is going to go evil, or that she has this potential within, right? And because she has so much power in the dark side there, that the Emperor wanted to find her. He also helped create her. That's what we just said. What did we learn in Rise of Skywalker? Palpatine is her grandfather, right? Thank you. Right? And the knowledge of the midichlorians gives you the power to create life, right? Thank you. So anyways, continuing on. The Virgin, Rey, unaware of who she really was and where she came from, was slowly growing in the Force. Snoke had been given command to use Kylo Ren to convert her to the dark side, but once Snoke had failed, Kylo followed orders and slew Snoke. Now it is the destiny of the Virgin to flee the mouth of the dragon, and the destiny of the last Jedi to slay the dragon. Rey, right? These prophecies are written in the books of the Jedi, and they are the great secrets which the Jedi Order came into existence to protect. The great dragon must convince Kylo Ren of lies in order to gain access to these books, for they also hold the ancient secrets of the Force itself and how to manipulate and cultivate it. If Kylo knew the truth, he would seek it for himself. We saw it in the movie. And the great... Sorry. Gotta backtrack. And the great dragon would again fall into the shadows of old. Now, I gotta pause there. We saw that in Rise of Skywalker. We saw that part of my plot there. Kylo selfishly wanted to go to the top level himself. And he wanted to cut out the Emperor. What did I say here? And how to manipulate and cultivate it. If Kylo knew the truth, he would seek it for himself, and the great dragon would again fall into the shadows of old. So the Emperor had to what? Deceive Kylo. Okay, what was the first words here? The great dragon must convince Kylo Ren of lies in order to gain access to essentially this final ultimate power. Okay, but continuing on. It is for this very reason that lies are feeding Kylo, and mystery is chasing Ren, and the anger is hiding Luke. The great dragon is at work so that his new empire will gain foothold. Once it has the knowledge contained within the books, the final step, this foothold will be everlasting, and the shadows will rule over the galaxy forever. That's the end of my second trailer. That is what we saw in the movie. I'm sorry, right? Uh, welcome, man. Welcome, man. How are you doing? I can kind of do a Yoda voice too, actually. I haven't practiced it in months though, but
Wise you are, Skywalker.
yeah, hold on.
Skywalker. Wise in the Force you are.
Yeah, I need more practice before I can do that again. But I could say a few things as Yoda pretty decently. So, anyways, I do have a third video which I had made a long time ago with those other two. That was more of just a verbal breakdown of the overall theory. I'm not going to play that here, but I go into much greater detail. One thing I will mention is the lightsabers. In my first two trailers, which are more, they're more like real trailers. It's not like a plot breakdown like my third one. I throw a hint out, a trailer hint, at the Kyber crystals having this great secret link to essentially the soul and the Force itself. Okay? And I throw out a hint in the trailer about the lightsabers, right? I have Palpatine explaining it to Kylo Ren, like we all just heard, the great secret about the lightsaber, the Kyber crystal within, and how I can't remember my exact words, but how it connects the soul to the Force, and, it's all connected through that. Okay, and I threw out the hint that when Luke and Rey and Kylo each picked up their first lightsaber, they had visions. This is true to Star Wars movies, not even just my theory. My theory incorporated all of those elements because the Star Wars creators never went further with those elements. So I took them further with my theory. So my theory is the Kyber crystal, which is a very secretive, powerful crystal anyways in Star Wars lore, okay, that crystal somehow has the natural ability to link soul to the Force, okay? And people, according to my theory, are born, some people are born really Force inclined. Those are like the Skywalkers, okay, or any other Jedi lineage. Skywalker happens to be the most powerful, okay? That's what I give in my breakdown. Okay, so the original Jedis, according to Star Wars lore, were the ones who made the lightsabers, right? So in my theory, the original Jedis who wrote the Jedi books, who knew all the secrets that are in the Jedi books, how to reach the ultimate powers, like my theory says, the Jedi learned the ultimate powers first, wrote them in the books on how to obtain it, and then stashed them away on that secret island. The Sith side of things wanted that level. They were almost at that level, and that's why that information had to be hidden. If they had the final step, which we see in Rise of Skywalker was one with the lightsabers, confirming my theory. Anyways, okay, and I can't remember how to finish that sentence now. Anyways, I'm losing my train of thought. Long story short, because the Kyber crystal connects the soul to the Force, it magnifies it like an amplifier. So if you're Force sensitive and you pick up a lightsaber, you go, wow. You have like a DMT trip. You have a full-blown vision quest, okay? Which happened to all the three, Kylo, Rey, and Luke in the real movies, right? And my way of explaining is that's the Kyber crystal, the natural power within it, right? Unlocking the people to the Force. It amplifies their connection to the Force. And that's their awakening to it. It's like entering the spirit realm, you know what I mean? Not exactly. So it also explains, my explanation for why Kylo and Rey could connect so well with visions is that they were actually related in bloodline. Okay, so my theory had Rey as Kylo's sister. Okay, they didn't directly say that in the movie Rise of Skywalker, but like I said, at the very, very end, she confirms by saying herself, I'm Rey Skywalker. And I actually think, I'm so convinced they used my plot that I can dare say nothing else in the movie actually contradicts that she could be his sister. In fact, as I was watching the movie, I was testing that aspect of my plot against it, and nothing that happens in the movie contradicts it. It was only confirmed at the end of the movie. So I think really, right? Really, she is a Skywalker. She's of that lineage. Okay? And it's also possible for Skywalkers to have extramarital affairs. Okay? But anyways, Palpatine says that she was his granddaughter. But anyways, all of those elements, I just don't have the time to get into it here. I don't want to sidetrack this bad, right? I just want to cover the major things. Those might seem like differences with my theory, but they actually fit with my theory still. They don't go against it. And I could argue it's actually still revealed in my trailers and my breakdowns when you watch it. So, but but yeah, the Kyber crystals. So the great final secret for the highest level of power contained within the books, according to my theory, is that this knowledge about the Kyber crystal. Okay, and at the very end of Rise of Skywalker, how does Rey defeat Palpatine? Palpatine, we thought, was at 100%, 99% power level, right? As high as you could go. Who could possibly defeat Palpatine? He just electrocuted the entire army up in outer space. You know what I mean? And then Rey, this little girl's coming up against him. We all think in the theater Rey's gonna die, right? Or join the dark side. So, but like my trailer hints, it presents her like, my wording is exact, and I'm not repeating my wording exactly here, right? But I know what I meant in the trailer and what I said, right? So she is portrayed in the trailer like a sacrifice, a virgin sacrifice that's being brought to the dragon. That's pure symbolic imagery for the sake of illustration, right? Palpatine's not a dragon, obviously, and I'm saying that the dragon is Palpatine. Okay, it's just meant to be like medieval symbology. Okay, what the reality is that my theory says Rey is a Skywalker. It says in my trailers Rey is the last true Jedi, not Luke. That shows you Luke did die, but he became more than death. He overcame death itself, became immortal. 100% Rise of Skywalker, 100% fitting. Okay, and that the last Skywalker had to be brought to Palpatine. We saw that in the Rise of Skywalker movie. Palpatine, the dragon, according to my trailers, needed her as the final sacrifice. Now, what do we see happen in the Rise of Skywalker? It just seems to be the inverse, that Palpatine wanted to willingly sacrifice himself to merge with Rey. But we just saw the whole movie with Palpatine deceiving Kylo, and Palpatine deceives everybody. He lies like he has a forked tongue, right? Who in the movie theater is to say that he was actually going to submit to Rey so that she could absorb him? Now stop and ask yourself, man. I love Palpatine. I wanted Palpatine to win and dominate the end of the movie. I just like Palpatine, right? Not that I'm evil, right? And I sometimes hate the Jedi, not Luke, right? But I wanted Palpatine to win, and I was dismayed. And I thought to myself, there's no way Palpatine has spent all his time raising all this power within himself. He's basically cheating death already anyways. And you're telling me Palpatine wants to sacrifice himself for this little chick who he still ain't certain on? Does that make sense to you as a moviegoer? No. I think it's common sense to me that Palpatine was going to trick Rey and use her power, which is what my theory said. She was going to be brought to him by Kylo, okay? And that he would use her in that way to absorb and then become the greatest. So my theory literally lays out that Rey was needed to combine with Palpatine. They would amalgamate to become the most superior power. That was the premise of my plot, okay? And with the Kyber crystals, I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in my breakdown video, the third video. The ultimate power. What is the ultimate power? It goes beyond creating life. It goes beyond cheating death and becoming immortal. It goes beyond that. What is the ultimate power? The ultimate power is to harness all the power, okay? Which can only be done either with all the Jedis, all the soul force, or all the force. But how can you actually gather all the Jedi or all the Sith? You see what I mean? You have to accrue together, which is what Palpatine revealed in Rise of Skywalker. You can only do this by amalgamating all the power into one, but you're still going to have what? A yin and yang. A superpower evil, a superpower, you know what I mean? A super evil an evil superpower and a good superpower, okay? Which is the balance in the force. But the nature of evil is that it always wants to dominate, okay? So it always wants to push above. My theory says in the trailer, what happens when it pushes above and dominates? It creates a chaotic star of potential, which was Rey, okay? Thank you. And that was done on purpose so that that chaotic star could be absorbed by the greater evil and then rise to eternal supreme power. That's my plot theory. Okay? And the kyber crystals are needed because nobody by themselves, I mean, you could gather all the Jedi together as the super Jedi force, all the Sith together as the super evil force. But how are you going to combine those two into the one with the most power? How do you do that? How do you do that? That's why Emperor had to bring this chaotic star, good and evil, into him. Key thing there, right? That was part of the element. And these are all just trailer hints in my trailer, right? But that's the one aspect. And the second thing is you need the kyber crystal because it has the natural ability to amplify the force, your force susceptibility. You know what I mean? Your force use susceptibility, force sensitivity. Sorry, couldn't find the right word. Okay, so by gaining the kyber crystals, and I don't mean just going mining them and this and that there. It gets a little deeper than that, right? It's all got to do with the science and the nature of how they work, right? Like I say in the trailer, the secret of the kyber crystal and all that there, right? So by using that science, of how it connects to the soul and the force, use that knowledge to amplify the force. So like I said, you're just going to have two sides butting heads. How does one rise above the other? And I just said the dark side rose above the other to create Rey, right? So how does that happen? It happens by the kyber crystals. So the way that the Sith, the dark side, rose above to create Rey was with the kyber crystals amplifying their side of the power. And how did Rey defeat evil in Rise of Skywalker? She was losing. At the end battle, she was very powerful, but she's chicken feed compared to Palpatine. I'm sorry. Palpatine knew this. He was duping her the whole time. The only way that Rey beat him was when she picked up that next lightsaber. The lightsaber which contains what? They made a big deal of that lightsaber in the movie. And she didn't beat Palpatine because she picked up a second object. She defeated Palpatine because she picked up the other Jedi's lightsaber with his soul force connection in that kyber crystal. As she picked it up, all the soul voices from the Jedi started coming in. That's my theory. Okay, it gives the connection between the soul and the force. I swear to God, man, that's my theory. I mean, that was my plot right there in the movie, man. Is absolutely it. I could not believe my eyes. And why one might say, oh, I thought you said kyber crystals are special. She could have just had any kyber crystal. No. Okay? The kyber crystals, well, they become attuned to the individual and so forth and blah, blah, blah. But they're important when you put them into, choose my words carefully here. It's more relevant when you put the kyber crystal into a lightsaber, okay, Star Wars lore and all that, and the Jedi trains with it, because if that crystal is amplifying his soul, is amplifying the connection between his soul and the Force, it's making that triangular gateway, or whatever you want it, that three-way gateway, that connection, which means the more he trains with it, the more he's pumping his soul into it, okay? It's a three-way street, okay? You have that profound connection. That's why when Rey and all them, they touched the lightsabers, they got visions. That was how my theory explained all that type of stuff from the Star Wars movies, right? So there you go. When Rey picked up that final lightsaber, it had that. I'm just explaining how my theory works here, right? She picked up that lightsaber at the end of Rise of Skywalker. That's it right there. That soul force connection from whichever Jedi it was. I lost track which lightsaber was which, but it don't matter to me, you know. So she had the two together, whichever two lightsabers they were, and then the soul force connection was all there. All the Jedi arrived, and boom, that's how she beat him. That's how she beat him. One could argue, oh well, she did it not because of the lightsabers, but because of the Jedi. You could argue either way, but what did they show you in the movie Rise of Skywalker, right? What did they show you? So, man, that's so cool, man. It's absolutely so cool. And I think just for the sake of it, I'm gonna play. You know, that's the meat of everything here. If you're interested in this, hang around because I'm gonna play my third video from years ago, my breakdown, the ultimate Star Wars theory. The greatest Star Wars theory. Here. Welcome, everyone. I would like to share with you all what could be perhaps this is 2 years ago I did all this Star Wars theory of all time. It said they could use my ideas, right? I'm going to cover how without Luke paying me even, I said, can and most likely will be alive in the next Star Wars movie. And I'm also going to touch on a very intriguing theory to do with the great books of the Jedi. How Yoda mysteriously appeared and destroyed these books. I'm also going to touch on a secret link between the Force, lightsabers, and kyber crystals. Also, the secret link between Snoke, Rey, and Kylo. And finally, I'm going to cover a personal theory that I have on Finn, linking back to The Force Awakens, that's sure to make you do a double take. I hope you all enjoy this great theory, and I hope the creators of Star Wars will see it as well and take note, and hopefully incorporate these elements into their upcoming movies. So how could Luke be alive in the next Star Wars movie? Everybody thinks that he died at the end of The Last Jedi. But the reality is, we don't actually know that Luke died. We saw him get fatigued and collapse. His body vanished and his clothes crumpled up. But we don't actually know that he died. We know for a fact that he didn't die from injury or disease or old age. People speculate that he must have died because he appeared to go in the same manner that Yoda died. And it's true, when you look back at that pivotal scene of Yoda's passing, Yoda was fatigued, he collapsed, and his body vanished, and the clothes crumpled up. The same thing that we saw happen with Luke. So people speculate that what killed Luke was his use of that force power, the force projection. That it just drained all his energy and just killed him. But what kind of power is a power if it kills you when you use it? You can only use these powers if you're at that level, if you acquire them, if you practice them, and at least to some degree master them. After all, what kind of power would it even be if Rey lifted up all those rocks and then got a brain hemorrhage? Which she didn't. Now we have to stop and think. Why was Luke on that island? That island is the best place in the galaxy to hide something. It's so secluded, and the enemy can't detect you there. So everybody thinks Luke went to this island for some rest and relaxation. He had become some grumpy old man and wanted to get away from society. But I have a much better suggestion. What else was on that island besides Luke that was so important? The tree and the books of the Jedi. There's no better place in the galaxy to hide something that is important than this island. And that's why the Jedi hid these books there, so that they could never fall into the hands of the dark side. And what happened? Luke had a mission. And what happened? Sorry to interrupt. I like the flow of my video. I won't interrupt it again. But in the movie, the dark side had to. What was inside in the Rise of Skywalker? The secret on how to find the shadow region where Palpatine was. This is all my theory, anyways, right? The secret on how to reach it was in the Jedi books, which Rey found, right? That connects everything to my theory here, man. It's insane. It's insane. This island. And that's why the Jedi hid these books there, so that they could never fall into the hands of the dark side. But obviously, sorry to interrupt again, obviously that means the dark side did find the books and find the knowledge, because in the books is the knowledge on how to create the Sith Wayfinder, which can find you the way to the untraceable regions. Obviously, according to my theory and according to the Rise of Skywalker, Palpatine obviously gained knowledge from the books on how to do just that, because that's where he went and grew in power, right? It's insane. And Luke had a mission, a secret mission. And to accomplish this mission, he had to train further and become greater. And I have to interrupt. My story is too cool. I'm sorry. It just is. Like, as a Star Wars fan, not bragging my own stuff, right? But it's just so cool, right? Luke, even though Luke wasn't biologically alive, okay, Luke is, like I said, Luke is the one who helped good defeat evil in Rise of Skywalker. And how did he accomplish any of that? By becoming a Force ghost, by becoming immortal, by taking on the next step of evolution. So when Luke died, like I was just talking about with Yoda, like I mentioned earlier, Yoda and Luke didn't, they died biologically, but they didn't really die. They cheated death. They became immortals. They became more powerful than before. And only in that form could Yoda and Luke come to the aid of Rey to defeat the greater evil. You see what I mean?
Had to study those books of the Jedi. The only person who could have told him where they are is Yoda. And lo and behold, Yoda turned up on the island later. So Luke went to this island for the sole purpose of finding these books and studying them. And he spent years there studying them. He learned about the origins of the Force use, the origins of the Jedi and Sith lineages, their histories, their wars and battles together, and even the future, the prophecies. He read his own prophecy where he goes on to kill his father, Darth Vader, and the Emperor is destroyed. And he read much more that is contained within these books. And he also read the great training manual for the Force contained within these books, which teaches you not only how to awaken the Force and how to cultivate it, but how to become a Jedi Master, and how to work your way up the ladder and acquire greater and greater powers until you reach the apex itself, where you have near divine power. This was Luke's mission, because he was going on to fight an enemy greater than Darth Vader and the Emperor.
Yeah, the Emperor became
And
more
let's
than
look
what he
back
was.
at that pivotal scene when Yoda's dying, and he
Like what the Emperor said in the movie. He says, "I am more than what I was because all the previous Sith have come into me," right?
told Luke his destiny in the Force. Let's look back at that pivotal scene when Yoda's dying, and he told Luke his destiny in the Force. He said, "Luke, you must kill Darth Vader, and you, Luke Skywalker, will bring balance back to the Force." And Yoda turned up on the island and destroyed the tree and burned up all the books, because Luke had finished his study, and so they could never fall into the hands of the dark side. So if Darth Vader and the Emperor died, and if Luke is remaining very powerful in the light side, then how is there balance in the Force? This is what people haven't realized. And do you know what this means? It means that this entire time, even back when Vader and the Emperor were there, that there was another one in the dark side,
Plagueis.
more powerful than Darth Vader and the Emperor.
Plagueis went into the Emperor
He was
according to Rise of
laying
Skywalker.
in wait, in hiding the entire time, pulling the strings from behind the scenes. He knows what's contained in the Jedi books, but he doesn't know everything in them, and he wants those Jedi books. So there never was balance in the Force. The prophecy is true. What Yoda said is true. Luke will bring balance to the Force, but that balance didn't come with the death of Vader and the Emperor. The balance will only come when the hidden Emperor is killed. And this is why Luke went to that island, because he knew that Emperor was there. He sensed that major disturbance in the Force.
Not there at the island.
He knew that this supreme power in the dark side was rising its head from the shadows. So Luke had to go to that island. And who would have instructed him but Yoda? Yoda knew where the books were. So Luke ventured to that island and studied the books for all those years. And that's where he learned the force projection power. That's where he learned the higher force powers.
And for anybody who might be thinking, oh, but you're not talking about Palpatine, you make it sound like he's dead. The images for my original trailers, and for the ones that are still, the images for my trailers was Palpatine sitting on his throne, the same one shown in Rise of Skywalker. The same room, the same throne and room and everything. That was the still image through the whole trailer. Palpatine. Okay, so nobody can say, hey, Palpatine wasn't your theory just because of how I'm wording things here, right? Trust me on that one. Excuse me.
And what are some of the other higher force powers? The ability to cheat death. The very ability that Anakin wanted so that he could save his wife. But it was this dark emperor, the hidden one, who was pulling all the strings. How do you think Anakin, Darth Vader, was born of a virgin birth? Why do you think he was the chosen one?
It was Plagueis who made him.
Why do you think Anakin was led along this path?
The Skywalkers
so
are
many
from
seeming
Plagueis and
coincidences
Palpatine.
in his life?
It
was his destiny. It's
interrupted it.
Of so many seeming coincidences in his life.
Yeah, one sec.
I think Anakin, Darth Vader, was born of a virgin birth. Why do you think he was the chosen one? Why do you think Anakin was led along this path of so many seeming coincidences in his life? It was his destiny. It's in the books of the Jedi. And it was this emperor who had some of this knowledge from those books, who knew the power to create life and to manipulate life. And he is the one that created Anakin. I hope you realize this ironic family tree now. The Jedi lineage, I believe, is genetic. Its use of the Force power, I mean. The Jedi lineage, has a more susceptible nature to the Force. They're more in tune with it naturally. They can open themselves up to it. That's why they're Force sensitive. Leia was Force sensitive. Luke was Force powerful. It's genetic, and it's passed down.
And Leia passed it on to Kylo Ren, right?
That's how Kylo Ren got it.
Okay.
He didn't just coincidentally get the Force ability, or coincidentally acquire it through just simple training as a normal human being. Normal humans can learn the ways of the Force, as was revealed in The Last Jedi. But there are those who are born with that ability. So Luke knew that he had to destroy this hidden emperor. And the hidden emperor knew that a new star had been born, Rey. Her quality was unique. She wasn't all in the dark side or all in the light side. She was in the middle.
This is an interrupt. My theory is so deep, right? For anybody thinking there's any contradictions here, I said in the trailer that the Emperor Palpatine did what he did with the disturbance in the Force to create Rey. We learn in Rise of Skywalker that she is his granddaughter and that he created her parents. Okay? And we also know that Plagueis created Anakin. Okay? Or that's a great deep secret or whatever, right? But Anakin was virgin born and most likely created by Plagueis. So anyway, so there is that connection. Everything is connected here. It really is.
It wasn't Grey. She was at the core. She was unique. She wasn't all in the dark side or all in the light side. She was in the middle. So Luke knew that he had to destroy this hidden emperor. And the hidden emperor knew that a new star had been born, Rey. Her quality was unique. She wasn't all in the dark side or all in the light side. She was in the middle. She wasn't Grey. She was at the core, the all potential. It was her raw, untapped potential, the ability to swing full force into the dark side or the light side, that made her so perfectly suited to function as the virgin sacrifice for the hidden emperor. If he could only obtain her, the source of raw power, then he would become unstoppable in the dark side. This hidden emperor, he knows some of the knowledge from the books of the Jedi. He knows some of the prophecies. He has learned how to acquire some of the higher powers that are spoken of in the books, and that is why he can create and manipulate life. But he cannot do everything. He does not have all the powers. He doesn't even have the powers that Luke has now. And he doesn't know all the prophecies that foretell Luke destroying him. But this hidden emperor can sense it. He can sense this in the Force, and he knows that there is this threat against him. This very old threat that has still remained. And this is why...
The only difference, because like I said, is like 90-something% the same. There is some difference. The only difference is I like Luke so much, I had him playing a bigger role in my imaginary episode 9. That's the only difference. I still would have liked to see a bit more of Luke, but he did appear in Rise of Skywalker. He played the pivotal role. It was because of him going to Rey that all this happened, and it's because he showed up at the end and teamed up with Rey and all of them with their Force power that they beat the Emperor. So it's still kind of true, but in my imagination, I wanted Luke to be more prevalent in the movie. But anyway, either way, it's still, I just wanted to say that.
He's so desperate to get hold of Rey. It's this very old threat that has still remained. And this is why he's so desperate to get hold of Rey. It's his last chance at power. So he commissioned Snoke to go find Rey. And Snoke did. And when Snoke, who was really just a mouthpiece, a mere puppet for the Emperor, when his time in use was finished...
What did I just say? What did I just say for everybody who might be doubting me? What did I just say? I said Snoke was a mere puppet for the Emperor Palpatine, okay? What did we see in Rise of Skywalker? The great scene where they go into that room and you have clone Snoke bodies, meat puppets for the Emperor to control. I'm telling you, man, they had to watch my thing and take my theories, which I'm cool with, right? But they had to, okay? Nobody else out there. I was following all the Snoke theories and this and that there. Oh, it's Jar Jar Binks. He's Plagueis. He's this, that, there. Everybody had theories and stuff, right? But there you go.
At power. So he commissioned Snoke to go find Rey. And Snoke did. And when Snoke, who was really just a mouthpiece, a mere puppet for the Emperor, when his time in use was finished, Kylo followed orders and killed Snoke, because Kylo was working for Snoke and the Emperor the entire time. And Kylo had no problems killing his father, and likewise, he'll have no issue bringing his sister Rey to the Emperor. You see, it's no coincidence that both Rey and Kylo are very powerful in the Force. It's because they're both born with the Force ability, because they are both Skywalkers with the Jedi lineage.
I am
DNA.
Rey Skywalker.
This is why Rey has so much power. She doesn't remember her parents or her childhood. This is why Kylo and Rey are so intuitive with each other, and why they can share such profound visions. And Luke sensed all of this.
I'm so convinced that they used my theory and everything I saw in Rise of Skywalker. I'm convinced that in the next Star Wars movie, they're going to reveal that that Kylo and Rey are brother and sister. And the awkward kiss scene is going to be no different than with Luke and Leia. I am convinced that's going to be in the next Star Wars movie.
Using his higher powers, he sensed it all in the Force, and that's why he's preparing for this great battle against the hidden Emperor. And Luke has learned to
see. And I just said that Luke knew all of this about the hidden Emperor. That was Rise of Skywalker again. That's what I had in my plot theory here. Okay, that Luke knew all of this about the Emperor. I even say elsewhere that Luke knew about this connection with the Emperor and Rey. That's all my theory, right?
Secrets of the lightsaber from the ancient Jedi
Oh
books.
no, and listen to this.
Battle against the hidden Emperor. And Luke has learned the secrets of the lightsaber from the ancient Jedi books. When every Jedi picks up their lightsaber for the first time, they have a profound vision. And just where is this vision coming from?
Where?
It's coming from the Force within, contained within the mysterious and secret Kyber crystals. The great secret that only the highest Jedis have ever learned, such as Yoda and Luke. I'll leave you with that. I hope you have enjoyed this ultimate Star Wars theory. And who was Finn but a double agent working for the Hidden Emperor? That's how he found Rey.
That's one little element that I threw in at the end as a wild card. I always thought, when I watched Force Awakens, I thought Finn was a double agent. And I threw that one in there. That's how old all these ideas are, right? They're like 2 years, it's from 2 years ago. But anyways, that's it for now. An hour and 10 minutes, that's ridiculous. So I'm going to end this video and hope everybody enjoyed. But yeah, Rise of Skywalker, man. That's like, if Disney had come to me and say, hey, we like your idea, here's $500 million, go make episode 9. The episode 9 that came to theater would basically be what I would make, because it's that much to my theory. It's insane. Obviously, it'd be a bit different because I would have different ideas, but the plot and everything, it's all the same. It's mind-blowing. But anyways, if Disney or anybody from Star Wars watches this and whatever, and I thank you for making this movie. And if you were aware or unaware that you used my entire plot idea, I thank you again. You know, it would be awesome to actually work on any future Star Wars movies. I would love to do that, especially even as a career. So, you know, just contact me. Unfortunately, my original channel, when I made these videos 2 years ago, when they're posted up getting thousands of views 2 years ago, I lost that old channel. So that was about the time. I didn't lose the channel 2 years ago. I lost the channel maybe half a year ago. But when I lost that channel, I therefore lost any contact between, like, any possible contact between Disney and Star Wars. Like, if they wanted to reach out to me, if they watched the video and they liked it, it's on my channel. So they would just contact my channel, right? Well, when I lose the channel, that can't happen anymore. So they would have no way of contacting me. Even if they did want to use my stuff for free, like I said they could, you know, they'd have no way to let me know. And then I made my new channel. I had to re-upload the stuff. So, but anyways, that's that. It'd be awesome. So awesome to work with Disney and Star Wars, and I really hope that somebody from their teams watches my little video here, because anyways, I'm sorry this was so long, but whatever. Anyways, take care everybody, and Rise of Skywalker is the best Star Wars movie out there. Absolute, well, nothing can replace the originals, but you know what I mean. It's the best movie out there. It's just so awesome, man. Absolutely awesome. I only wish Palpatine maybe had a little bit more time, flex a little bit more of his power. But that's just me because I like Palpatine. And maybe Luke could have had a little bit more of a role, but trust me, I am not complaining. That movie is stellar perfection to me. Rise of Skywalker, stellar perfection. 10 out of 10, 100% score rating, 5 stars, Michelin star, everything that you should get for it. Absolute best movie ever. Anyways, folks. Oh, and I also want to say, I think Disney and Star Wars did a perfect job, in my opinion, of fixing all the things that fans didn't like about their latest movies. For just to name a few, I couldn't stand Poe's character in the movies. He was just had so many irritating qualities. In the new movie now, Rise of Skywalker, I actually liked him. That to me was revolutionary, because I went into the movie dreading to see his face, the character, not him, the actor, right? And just other things, like I hated Rey's character before, but in this movie here, she was likable. You know, all these things were changed. There was less PC nonsense rubbed up in your face. It was just great, man. Like, all the irritating things were gone. They brought Luke back. You know what I mean? It was just so awesome, man. I think they did an excellent job listening to the fans, hearing people out, and using good ideas. But long story short, I think they did an excellent job of listening to the fans and fixing all that stuff, right? And giving us a wonderful movie. I can't wait to buy that movie, and I will never forget this. That was like the ultimate Christmas present for me, man. Because I always said to myself, this is the last thing I'll say for the stream. I always said to myself, even if they were to use my movie idea, right, which is far fetched, I figured, even if they were to use it, I'll probably never get a penny for it. I probably won't even get recognition for it, like a mention, a shout out, anything. But that's fine. This is what I said to myself. That's fine. Because even if I can just go in the theater, this is what I said. If I can go in the theater and watch episode 9, and it's basically my movie, the one I created, I'm going to have, it'll be like the most amazing thing. And that'll be it for me. You know what I mean? That'll be enough for me. I wouldn't have to get, I would like to get big paychecks, you know what I mean? Or job offers or this and that there, or mentions. But if all I get is just seeing the movie that I wanted to create, that's it for me. And that's what I got. 100%. 100%, man. So wonderful, man. And there's no way this can be a coincidence. It's just impossible. It's just impossible. I'm sorry. I mean, like, our minds had to meld. Like, if nobody had seen my trailers and my breakdown video and anything else, I think I had like another 1 or 2 videos out there back then, right? But I didn't re-upload those. But if anybody had seen that stuff, hadn't seen that stuff, and they came up with everything that I came up with, I mean, I swear to God, we must be like twin souls or something. You know what I mean? But anyways, and the other crazy thing is that even when people write books or scripts for movies, when it becomes the movie, it's like almost entirely different. Everybody knows that, right? So the very fact that this movie came out like 95% my plot script, you know what I mean? That's pretty incredible. But anyways, see you all later.